Hello, my name's Allison, and welcome back. For today's video, it's finally the last septic ego I drew, Mr. ANTISEPTICEYE, the bastard himself. And if you're interested, I'll have links to the other septic ego speed paints in the description. I'll also have links to my social media pages if you want to see some of my other septic ego fan art that I haven't done speed paints for. Also, some warnings for this video. I did draw blood in this video. They're in the usual places you expect them for Anti, on his neck, and his knife. I also want to go for a glitch effect for Anti, so there's also going to be some a lot of bright colors. So if any of these bother you, please proceed with caution. And alright, let's get to it. Everything about drawing Anti was really fun. From his crazed expression to his pose, and even the glitch effects I did some experimenting with later on. I think because I don't really draw these kinds of characters, really at all, and was what made drawing Anti fun. With Anti's design, I liked him wearing a black shirt and black ripped jeans. And while I was drawing Anti, because he's a villain, I really tried to make him have a more sharper design with pointy edges. Like having his hands be more claws, might be more claw-like, sharper eyebrows, smaller pupils, and a large frickin' grin with little sharp teeth in there, and having the little tufts on his ripped jeans be a little more sharper too. Except for his hair. The Septic Ego's hair will always be floofy, whether Anti likes it or not. As for his colors, I used a kind of a pale green for the base color, and had his color palette at a lower opacity, so that the pale green can kind of seep through it. His clothes and hair didn't change too much, but his skin color started getting that icky green feel to it, which was great. And for his eye color, I didn't want to go with blue like I did with the other egos, so instead I went with a bright green instead. At first, with coloring his shirt and jeans, instead of using a complete black at lower opacity, I ended up using a darker gray blue, so there's still some hints of color in there. After finishing up the base coloring for his knees, shoes, and the little tufts on the ripped part of his jeans, I created a new layer and colored in his entire shirt black. With the line art, how I changed it from a black to being a multiple color line art is that I'll duplicate it and change the first version into overlay mode, and the second version will stay at normal, but I changed the opacity to 40%, and I'll change the color of that line art to a light purple. With Anti, I was stuck between having it be pinkish purple and blue, because pink for Anti didn't really seem all that menacing for him, but I went with a lighter purple for the normal layer, which I prefer to use anyway. And this is when I started experimenting and getting that glitch effect. I started with having a bright green accents that I would change the layer to color dodge and duplicate it 6 times. Place all of those layers on top of the black shirt, and you kind of start getting a little glitchy look to it. After doing some black outlines on his face, such as getting his facial hair in, coloring in the eyebrows, and adding an outline to his eyes, I started working on his pupils for a bit. I added a light blue to a green gradient. Oh, and as a way to make his eyes seem more crazy, I made the white of his eyes and his teeth a very, very bright white. And then I got into his hair. I started with black shadows and tried coloring in some parts of bright turquoise and moving around, but it just wasn't really working. And I wasn't getting the effect I wanted. I even tried decreasing the opacity for it too. So after changing it back to normal, I changed that layer with turquoise highlights into a color dodge layer, and colored in the entire hair with the turquoise color, while still trying to move it around and changing the layer opacity a bit just to see how it would work, but it just wasn't really getting the effect I wanted. So I just cleared the entire layer and tried again. With the layer on color dodge, I used a different brush and finally got the effect I was looking for. And on that same layer, I started coloring in the shirt using that same green, and got an interesting effect with that too. After that, I started coloring in his clawed hand that is behind his back. black and had it fade out into his skin, which kind of gave him a more monstrous looking arm. And I did the same thing with his hand as I did with his hair and the shirt, and gave that color dodge layer noise and did the same thing with pupils too. Then I specifically selected a part of the cloud and added some more noise to that. At this point, I was really happy with how it was turning out, but I wasn't done yet. I gave it some more noise and added little black gradients to the tips of his claws, and started messing with the layers a bit and started adding in some shadow, more to his skin than anything else, and a bit more black to his shirt too. And then this is when I started doing a lot of experimenting. I messed with the hue and saturation a little bit more. I did some more messing around with the layers. Then started shading in his hair darker colored too. Add in some black shadows, just trying to make his hair look really, really dark. And add in a light green accent that I also changed into a color dodge layer mode as well. And finally started coloring in the blood on his neck and on his knife too. I started with a dark red as a base color, then added in a very highly saturated red for the highlights, and used a pale orange for the more smaller highlights. Then I added another highlight for the knife, and at this point I hid the background layer and saved the image as a transparent PNG. Then I added that PNG back into the file, and duplicated it twice, and changed the colors for one of them to be blue and the other red. And I changed their layers to color dodge and moved around to get that red and blue effect. I changed the layer modes a bit, but I went back to the color dodge layer, just for more experimenting. I continued messing with it and changing the opacity, moving them around a little bit more, and at this part of the drawing was just a lot more experimenting. And to put more focus on the head and torso, I erased the blue and red layer of the head and torso part, just to get more of that focus in there. And continued doing more experimenting. And then came actually creating the glitches. I started with selecting almost every layer and using a rectangle select tool, and just move small selections to either the left or the right to start getting that glitch effect. I did that to a good portion of the body and the pupils too. I even added some black glitches in too. Then changed the background to a darker color and added a magenta outline. And that is my process into drawing Anti. Again, he was a lot of fun to do. And he'll be available as a sticker on my RedBubble page. Links are in the description. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Please stay inside, wash your hands, and have an amazing day.